Shake my head. All the money that goes into Charlie Kirk, and he can only stream at 720p.
Chicago, visiting some family for Thanksgiving. And I wanted to start the show today to talk about just a lot of these thanks.
Why does he look homeless? Why is he dressing like this? Is Jamie from MR a tanky? I don't think so. I think Jamie is an anarcho-communist. Small face man, indeed. Indeed.
Thanksgiving orders that are now being put forward by
he's so quiet.
These tyrannical governors across the country. So what in particular, she is one of America's worst governors. Kate Brown. Oregon's governor is limiting social gatherings to no more than 6 people. And so I have a question. How did Kate Brown come to that number? Seems awfully arbitrary. There's no public health guidance that I'm aware of that says that 6 people is any more safe than 7 people. Now, Kentucky is limiting Thanksgiving to 8 people.
Yes. There is no lower volume a little. Yeah, I've got it amped up. I can turn it up on my stream. Here, is this loud enough?
A lot of these Thanksgiving orders that are now being put forward by
How's
these
that?
tyrannical governors across the country. So what in particular, she
Okay,
is one
good.
of America's
Awesome.
worst.
All right, so to address what he's saying here, now that you all can hear what he's saying, his complaint here seems to be basically that there's no exact guidance on how many people should be able to gather, largely because I think it looks low budget because he went home for the holidays. You know, he's got to infect the family. He's got, you know, at the very least, he's putting his money where his mouth is, or at least his family's lives where his mouth is, I guess. But essentially, he's saying there's no so guys, in case you don't know, the exact guidance is largely you shouldn't allow large gatherings of people in indoor spaces. So like, yes, that's the official guidance. So his complaint is there's no official guidance regarding the exact number of people. And therefore we should throw out this idea of like limiting gatherings. This is really stupid. Yeah, it's really stupid. Yeah.
Governors. Kate Brown. Oregon's governor is limiting social gatherings to no more than 6 people. And so I have a question. How did Kate Brown come to...
Oh, we need to speed this up or it's going to take forever. Sorry.
That number seems awfully arbitrary. There's no public health guidance that I'm aware of that says that 6 people is any more safe than 7 people. Now, Kentucky is limiting Thanksgiving to 8 people, and the state of California allows a grand total of 3 households.
Exactly, Catholic gaming.
We are going to see how willing Democrat and Republican governors who have put forth these lockdowns.
Are there any right-wing points that I agree on aside from guns? I believe in freedom. I know that that's a big talking point on the right. I believe that I actually believe in more freedom than conservatives typically believe in. I believe in, gosh, what's another? Yeah, I believe that everyone is entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I believe in the fundamental tenets of our Constitution. Yeah. Yeah, I am someone who believes that the Constitution should be followed to the maximum extent that it allows. And I believe that living in a society where your freedom is contingent on how much money you have, well, that's a pretty shitty version of freedom, I think. I think freedom is undermined when you are able to allow others to take it away from you via coercion, whether that is natural or unnatural coercion. Exactly. You need to have economic freedom in order to be free. So I propose giving economic freedom to everyone in this country, not just the rich.
How willing they are to criminalize Thanksgiving. And it's needless to say, they did nothing to stop the riots, the arson, and the destruction of our inner cities in our country, to stop the public celebrations around the Los Angeles Lakers winning the NBA Finals. They did nothing to stop BLM Incorporated.
Okay, so a couple of things. Ask the seniors that are sick and dying how free they are right now. Exactly. So essentially, guys, and I feel like I need to bring this up every single time some conservative brings up Black Lives Matter. I've had to do this on stream so many different times. I need to find the exact... Where did I put it? It's around here somewhere. Where did it go? Where did it go now? Where did it go? Here it is. Look. Hey guys, look at it. It's a study from Harvard. A study that Harvard put out, guys. We all think that Harvard is a bunch of smarties, right? They put out a study and basically found that around 97, like a little bit over 97% of Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful. 97%. Oh, almost 98%. Guys, if 98% of something was good, would you say the entire thing was bad? You know? Like, I don't think you would do that, especially if you're applying it to the largest sustained protest movement in American history. So yeah, I mean, this is just generally my opinion on this particular issue. Don't anyone try and stream snipe me now about like how, oh well, actually the survival rate of the coronavirus is 98%. So you just said it's actually good. No. Fuck you. And also, I do not believe that the actions of 2% of people, in this case, dismiss the concerns of 98% of the largest sustained social protest movement in American history. And also, it's worth noting that of the 2% of protests that were violent or became riots, violence was largely instigated by outside counter-protest groups in the findings of this study, or by police themselves. So, again, all this stuff about Black Lives Matter being like runaway riotous and criminal is absolutely ludicrous. And I think that when we hear these complaints coming from conservatives, you need to remember that Martin Luther King Jr. died one of the most hated men in America. And he died one of the most hated men in America because people blamed him for the exact same violence and riotousness that they do the BLM movement. So when you consider these things, remember that because it's the exact same talking points from the exact same playbook that conservatives were using back then. So maybe be able to see what they're doing this time. Anyway, Charlie Kirk is a person. Also, yes, teams. Could you share a link to that study in chat, please? Sure. Excuse me. Where did I put this? Here it is. I believe it was also put into the Washington Post. Are you sure, Charlie Kirk is a person? Not entirely. There you go. What's up, Dr. Socialism? I love your username. You came to the right place if you're a doctor of socialism, because heck yeah, we talk about socialism here all the dang time. Are the demonstrations that are considered non-peaceful called that based on government requirements or on separate set of requirements from Harvard? So in this study, they lay out basically that there were two different criteria that they used to demarcate. I don't know if I just said that word right. That didn't sound right. Anyway, basically to separate violent demonstrations from nonviolent ones, and essentially they had to come up with, I guess, two different definitions. So let's see. Yeah, using several measures to evaluate protest behavior offers a better assessment than the blanket term violence. For example, we disaggregate property destruction from interpersonal violence, we analyze separately the number of injuries or deaths among protesters and police, and we are thinking about how gathering even finer grained data in the future could help assign precise responsibility for violent acts. Here's what we found based on the 7,305 events we've collected. The overall levels of violence and property destruction were low, and most of the violence that did take place was in fact directed against the BLM protesters. Police made arrests in 5% of the protest events, with over 8,500 reported arrests. Police used tear gas or related chemical substances in 2.5% of these events. Protesters or bystanders were reported injured in 1.6% of protests. Let's see. Let's go down here. In short, our data suggests that 96.3% of events involved no property damage or police injuries, and in 97.7% of events, no injuries were reported among participants, bystanders, or police. So, there you go. Where the Collins at so I can yell at communists for defending China. We're going to... you know what? I leave it up to the chat, because I also... Dr. Socialism, thank you very much for following. Yeah, we'll break. We'll break from the Charlie Kirk video, and you can call in.
Marching through the streets, and they did nothing to stop Joe Biden president-elect celebrations in Washington, D.C. just a couple weeks ago. And here's how you know the ruling class does not believe this virus warrants the lockdowns that they are ordering. If the ruling class actually believed this virus...
Wait, but Charlie Kirk, they also didn't block Trump's in-person MAGA rallies. This isn't like a double standard. They just haven't been doing shit, and I agree that that's bad. I didn't put it on 2.5 times... Okay, well, I put it on 1.5 times speed. But, like, it's an hour-long video. I can't watch this. I can't watch this at normal speed. Do you guys really want to spend a full hour listening to Charlie Kirk? I'm trying to save you guys time. Charlie served the ruling class. Exactly, Poopy Dickens. And I love your username very much. I had to say it. All right.
Pose the threat that they are saying it does, then they themselves would not be violating these lockdowns. They would also be fleeing for their safety. They would be distancing themselves.
You know, when you speed him up, he sounds a lot like Ben Shapiro. He's making sense.
Aristocratic lunch and dinner spot in Napa Valley. When he goes to French Laundry with, I think it's 12 of his closest friends, no social distancing, no masks, he knows that his own rules are draconian and medieval in nature. And now, by the way, I actually defend Gavin Newsom's right to do that. I just wish he defended other people's right to do that. Governor Kate Brown, who is one of America's worst governors from Oregon, she said, "This is hard, but
Revolt Rise
now will save lives."
Everyone say hello to Revolt Rise, our resident jack of all trades. Also, I love that his argument is essentially like, oh yeah, the liberals are being hyperbolic or hypocritical. That's the word I'm looking for. No, Benny Boy doesn't make sense. People just think he makes sense because he talks fast. So, yeah, essentially his issue is that Democratic governors are passing these lockdown measures, but then not adhering to them themselves. But he's upset with this because it's hypocritical and they shouldn't be passing the lockdown procedures, despite acknowledging that the official guidance says not to let large gatherings get together. So it's an extremely big brain take. That's what I'm getting at here. A very big brain take.
This Thanksgiving, keep it small. Uninvite them. And it's so incredibly insulting towards, honestly, the video she posted is so incredibly insulting towards men. She says, uninvite your bragging brother. Uninvite your new boyfriend, what she says.
Oh man, he's so happy. Look at this smile on his face.
bragging brother.
Look at this little amount of glee that he gets from being able to say that that Democratic governor sure is being sexist by saying bragging brother. Gotcha. She was clearly trying to make a joke about the holidays, because a lot of people don't have inter-family issues. A lot of families have those. Like the nagging aunt, the boastful younger cousin. Anyway,
uninvite your new boyfriend, what she says. But then going back into June, going back to July 30th, she said, I think we've had enough political grandstanding from D.C. The president's
Wait, what the fuck was that? Does he have a co-host on this show? Did I hallucinate
We will
an arm?
protect free speech and the right to protest peacefully. She says this: the massive and nonviolent protests led by BLM Incorporated activists have inspired the nation. Let's get to work and make this vision a reality. So Governor Kate Brown was vocally supporting BLM Incorporated protests and riots in the streets.
Again, the data shows us that most of the protests were overwhelmingly peaceful, and that the violence that did happen mostly came from police and mostly came from counter-protesters. And also, like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be discounting a historic, a historic protest movement that is unprecedented in American history. Maybe. Oh yeah, Charlie Kirk looks like, I don't know, he has the kind of face that changes drastically every time I see it.
But when it comes to Thanksgiving,
yeah, I'm older than he is. I'm older than Charlie Kirk. Yeah.
She says no more than 6 people, which is completely and totally arbitrary, not rooted in science whatsoever. And so, something that we have played with here, and something that
Merkin Dream, thank you very much for hitting that follow button. Y'all have some great usernames. Thank you very much.
We've been exploring is, what is the agenda of these lockdown governors? I think there's a couple ways that we...
Yeah, what could possibly be the agenda of these lockdowns? Could it be preventing the spread of a deadly pandemic that threatens to kill 6 million plus Americans? Could that be it? Maybe? No, can't be that. Has to be something nefarious.
We can interpret this. Number one, I think that this post-election circumstance that we're in kind of has taken us off guard, to be honest with you. I think a lot of the Democrat governors saw our predictions about how they were going to reopen the country once Trump was done, and I think that they played us for a fool. I think that they...
Oh, this is stupider than I thought it was going to be. Oh, gosh. So, essentially, he's saying that the Democratic governors are playing 4D chess, and they heard the right-wing political pundits saying that, that they're just going to lift the lockdowns after the election because Joe Biden will have been elected, and the Democrats heard us. The Democratic governor of Oregon really pays a lot of attention to what Charlie Kirk says, and they're opening up the state after the election, but they're outsmarting us because they're closing states down instead. Gosh, played us like a damn fiddle.
Knew we were heavily focused on the election, knew we were heavily focused on the Great Steal, knew that we were heavily focused on the voter fraud investigations, the Georgia Senate race. And many of these Democrat governors have been waiting their turn to lock down their states again. And the question is why? Why would you intentionally inflict suffering through central command? Why would you intentionally want small businesses to go under? Why would you intentionally want suicides to go up? Why would you intentionally want schools to go into bedlam? Why would you want that? It's because for many members of the Democrat leadership, they believe in the Great Reset, which is the eradication of private property. You rent, you do not own. You put forward a...
Oh, Charlie Kirk's just going straight up crazy. So guys, I've been sent videos of people who believe in this Great Reset thing, and it's basically just a misunderstanding of what the IMF does. Like the International Monetary Fund, guys, is an arm of capitalism. Like the Great Reset is basically their recommendations for how we should proceed and essentially recover from the economic turmoil of COVID-19. Um, so that's all it is. It's an economic policy put out by capitalist economists, and yeah, no, it had nothing to do with Trump. To be honest with you, it had everything to do with the recommendations of like a panel of international economists, saying like this is what you should do going forward to recover, and be prosperous. Um, the issue is that was taken by like the QAnon folks, the people over at InfoWars, and like basically injected with anti-Semitism to make it into a thing where they're essentially trying to say that there is a globalist conspiracy to spread communism by abolishing private property, which is not what it does at all. It has no authority in the United States. It has no authority in any other country. It's a set of economic recommendations made by capitalists for capitalists. That's it. Anyway, here we'll keep going. I just want you all to know that what he's saying right now is batshit.
A globalist, borderless, pro-China agenda that destroys the American experiment. I have long called this an epidemiological Pearl Harbor, launched from China to our country. The virus is a real thing. It kills real people.
Oh, okay. So now he's asserting that China is deliberately attacking us with via biological warfare because he thinks that China has infected its own population on the off chance that it would get to America, and America would have such a piss poor response that it would then turn into a pandemic that was killing untold numbers of people. Really big brain stuff from Charlie Kirk. I honestly wasn't expecting him to get this off the wall.
Proper precautions for people that are at risk should absolutely take this very seriously. The correct therapeutics should be employed.
We should take this seriously? You mean we shouldn't gather with our families around Thanksgiving? We shouldn't gather in great numbers around the holidays? Because there's a deadly real pandemic? I'm glad that Charlie Kirk is like, we need to take this seriously. It's an epidemiological Pearl Harbor. We need to take it seriously. But also, it's really stupid that there are that governors across this country are taking it seriously by shutting down states and businesses and saying you shouldn't gather in groups of like more than 6 or 8. It's absolutely wild. Absolutely wild.
The right measures should be enacted, none of which, by the way, are lockdowns. Just read the Barrington Declaration, signed by thousands of epidemiologists and doctors who say that lockdowns hurt.
By the way, the Barrington Declaration, which is something we looked into last night, was essentially an open thing. Like literally anyone could sign it. Any one of you in chat right now could go and sign the Barrington Declaration. There were people who were signing it from like the university of your mom. There were people signing it, claiming like with names like Poopy Butthole or Dr. Johnny Banana. They are. It's like not a thing, and it's been panned by most experts in the related fields. So, yeah, that's what he's referencing here.
Go read the World Health Organization's own writings.
Johnny Banana equals COVID-19.
They say clearly.
Also, Dr. Scrubs, thank you very much for hitting that follow button. I appreciate it. You know, we're trying to build up a community here to make the world a better place, and I very much appreciate anyone who wants to chip in with that old follow button. Doesn't cost you a thing.
Lockdowns will do nothing more than have hundreds of millions of poor people re-enter the third world. Hundreds of millions of people in at-risk poverty re-enter the third world. Unfortunately, Democrats are using this as an opportunity. They're using this as an opportunity to change the public policy landscape, to change the way that we do politics, culture, and life in America. They are looking at this as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to seize absolute power and control. After 9/11, we changed the way that we do mass surveillance in this country. After 9/11, we launched the National Security Agency, we launched the Department of Homeland Security, we launched massive efforts to surveil our own citizens, and some of which was supported, some of which was warranted. But it was such a dramatic event that we were willing to sacrifice our Fourth Amendment rights and our freedoms and liberties because we never wanted to live through another 9/11 again. I understood that. I understand that to some sense of it today. I think that a lot of that sacrificing of individual rights and liberties was done way too quickly and not with proper oversight. And it used to be Democrats, by the way, that were fighting on this, including Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders has now decided to completely turn his back on any sort of civil rights, civil liberty fights that he used to be involved in. The same sequence of events that happened post 9/11 are about to happen in this country, where...
Okay, so he just admitted that after 9/11, we took action to try and combat the thing that had harmed us. And he even said that he still understands it. Okay, well then what is hard for him to understand about a disaster that's on par with, what is it now? 100 9/11s? Is that what we're up to now? How many 9/11s have died so far in the how many 9/11s deaths? How many 9/11 deaths? Okay, 2977. All right. How many COVID deaths in US? Let's see, we're up to 262,000. Yeah, so yeah, about 100 9/11s. Yeah. If I'm doing my math right. I am an English major, so I'm not great with numbers. Yeah, he's talking like it's the end of the world if he has to wear a mask. Yeah, like Charlie Kirk, they're asking you to give up one Thanksgiving with your family in person so that you can have a life full of Thanksgivings with your family. That's what they're asking you to do, and you can't even do that. You have to be a giant baby and make an hour-long video about it.
New agencies of government will be created.
Walrus, thank you for the 5 bits. And Lingo, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it.
Cost of these lockdowns. The same way that they made America in their image post 9/11 of endless wars and the war machine.
Charlie, that was your party, Charlie. That was your party. When you say they, that was conservatives, Charlie. Like, all right, whatever.
Was fed endlessly. The same way they did that, they are going to try to use the Chinese coronavirus for that same exact purpose. How can it serve a particular corporate interest? How can we use it to micromanage, surveil citizens? The only option we have left is a full and total reopening of America immediately. You guys have heard me talk about relief factor before. And look, the truth is, I know there are millions of people, some say over 100 million people struggling with some kind of pain. I had terrible back pain, I can tell you that. Maybe from exercise or just getting older, that can do it. Look, I can tell you this, that getting to know the Talbots, Pete and Seth Talbot, they are on a mission. That's right, a mission. To make sure that every single person is able to heal naturally, 100% drug-free. That's what I love most about Relief Factor.
Is he doing an ad right now?
I'm often asked the question, why are you partnering with Relief Factor? It's because they believe...
He's doing an ad. Wait, he didn't finish... Did he finish the segment? He just kind of went into the ad. All right, okay. Well, I thought he was going to tie in his back hurting with the COVID-19 relief, but I guess he's just done talking about that. I guess his stance is that we need to open the country immediately. And again, I've kept putting it in these terms, but if you Leftward, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it very much. But essentially, what he's saying here is, we need to open the country and allow as many people to die as we can at this point. You know, we're just gonna let people die. And essentially, that the amount of people who are gonna die, guys, is in the millions. Like, the mortality rate of COVID-19 in the United States is over 2%. Do you know how many people 2% of the American population is? It's over 6 million people. Are you okay? Are you okay with 6 million people dying so that you aren't inconvenienced? I'm not. I'm not. I'm not in favor of supporting some sort of genocide level event just because I have to stay home and wear a mask or not go to Thanksgiving. Like, holy shit. Yeah, I'm not okay with 250,000, but like what he's proposing and what people like Charlie Kirk propose is letting between 2 to 6 million people die. And that's wild. Does he have scoliosis or something? I don't know. I'm not sure what relief factor is. We're not going to find out either. I'm gonna. Wait. Is the entire show just? Oh no, he comes back later. Okay.
Having a great Thanksgiving week. Breaking right now, a Pennsylvania judge has just granted a hearing in an election integrity case challenging the constitutionality of Act 77, which is surrounding mail-in ballots. Pennsylvania, again, this is very significant because the Trump campaign has been suing in multiple states, challenging the practice around mail-in ballots. And now this is something that a lot of people in the activist media will take a great surprise. They thought that
they've only tried suing 30 times and they've lost like 29 of them. But I'm glad they're at least getting a hearing this time, you know? We'll see what happens. Maybe the judge will laugh them out of the courtroom again. They've been having we're up to 36 now. We're up to 36 lawsuits that they have filed and lost almost all of them. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this Pennsylvania one turns out. They've lost 35. That's amazing.
Throw these out. And so, reading from the press release or the news around it. The supplemental emergency application, to the extent that there remains any further action to perfect the certification of the results of the general election, it says that respondents are preliminarily enjoined from doing so, meaning they cannot certify the election yet. And so it looks as if there will be an evidentiary hearing to be held this Friday at 11:30 a.m. via WebEx. The emergency motion, which was filed on November 22nd, has been temporarily granted, which blocks the states from certifying the election results. And there's also a case that is waiting in front of the United States Supreme Court. There are cases in Nevada as well that have great similarities. And the Trump campaign is doing a phenomenal job of laying out the evidence.
What is he looking at that's like way up here? It's very distracting. But anyway, I love the LARP. I love the LARP guys. Like, just them constantly pretending that this is gonna turn into something, you know? Gotta go see the doc. Thank you again. Looking forward to your next stream. Bye. You have a good night, okay, Derby Yank? Or good day. Good luck at the doctor, okay? Hello, Kinder. We're just watching some Charlie Kirk. I hope you enjoy watching with us. All right, Archangel the Cobb. We'll hold down the fort, okay? Love you very much. Come get back soon.
Around the fraud that they have been able to discover. And so this is far from over, everybody. There are still judges that have decisions to make, and the Biden campaign is ramping up their legal defense to try and get all of these decisions thrown out. And if I were to guess,
no, they aren't getting the decisions thrown out. The judge is deciding to throw out the cases because the cases are largely bullshit.
How this will play out in the next couple weeks. I would imagine that the Trump campaign is going to have some very significant procedural victories in the courts. I would imagine that the Trump campaign is going to actually start to get some wins on signature verification, on absentee ballots, on some of these hearings that are now being granted.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure this is exactly what's going to happen.
However, a lot
You're by the way, you're right, Kobatroid. This besmirches the good name of LARPing.
of this needs to be driven by the state legislatures. The state legislatures right now need to be holding criminal hearings. Why is the Republican state legislature in Pennsylvania not hosting a hearing on one issue, just one issue? How do you explain the 1,774% increase in 90-plus-year-olds voter registration in the last 4 months before an election in the midst of a pandemic? Can someone answer that question? Who is going into the nursing homes? Who is...
Dang, Charlie Kirk, you should go and present this evidence in court. You should go and present this evidence in court, Charlie. If it's so compelling, it'll surely make it into the court system. This is you're busting the story wide open.
going into the shared living facilities? Who is helping them register to vote? Did they actually want to register to vote? Were they being forced to register to vote? Or was it like the whistleblower that has come out in Wisconsin, Susan, who shows that 20 developmentally disabled people minimum that she knows of, just in her one facility, were forced to vote for Joe Biden against their wishes? Where are the state legislatures on this? Are they just taking Thanksgiving off? They probably are. An even better question, the national Republicans need to be calling on this. Senator Pat Toomey, who is only a United States senator because of President Trump's...
Walrus, thank you very much for the 85 bits. Y'all being so great tonight. Thank you. I agree that there should be a criminal hearings, maybe not against the same people, though. True. Yeah, I mean, at Spiritus, if that's true, I mean, that seems pretty criminal. I would like an investigation into that. However, a lot of these claims are largely fabricated or greatly exaggerated, and I would say that you should take anything coming out of his mouth here with, like, 10 million grains of salt, however much salt there is in the ocean. Take his opinions here with that.
Movement in 2000.
1 second. Thanksgiving to you too. Good night, Leftward. Fuck Charlie Kirk, indeed. Hello, Fredman. Your name is very fun to say. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy whatever time you spend in my little community, you know?
2016 needs to be pressing the Pennsylvania state legislatures. Remember, the states have the sovereignty in this country. The federal government is nothing more than a compact that the states have all agreed to. The states created the federal government. The federal government didn't create the states. This is not the European model where all the power goes to Berlin or to Brussels or to Paris. Instead, it's the opposite. It is the states, it is the localities that hold the power. And the lack of action, I mean, I hear these state legislators, well, we're going to host hearings. You got to do better than that. There should be a nonstop drumbeat.
Whoa, Charlie, I thought the states held all the power. Why are you telling them what to do, Charlie? You're in one state. You should be telling that state what to do. Not all the other states. Charlie Kirk, I feel like you're becoming a tyrant.
Of investigations and nonstop drumbeat of press in these states. And I'd love someone to explain the 6,000 votes that were changed because of Dominion voting systems in Michigan. Who looked further into that? Can someone explain to me why Joe Biden did so suspiciously well in Dane County, Wisconsin, despite...
I don't know, Charlie. Maybe you should investigate. Maybe you should find the answers. Or, you know, maybe you should use some of the money that you get paid for this show to investigate that. Maybe the Trump campaign, with all of their resources and the resources of the federal government, could investigate it. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's much criminal wrongdoing if it's not even being investigated here.
University of Wisconsin-Madison being basically completely shuttered and closed. Can someone explain that to me? These questions are worthy of our answers. And now finally we have a sequence of hearings, or a series of hearings, I should say, that can actually begin to get some rulings.
You have one. You were granted one hearing in one case out of 36. Or sorry, they've lost 35 out of 36 hearings. or in front of a judge, court rulings. They were just granted the ability to present their case. That's what he's crowing about right here.
To hopefully get to the bottom of the great steal and this fraud that we all know has happened in our country. And on this program, here's my promise to you. We will not say...
Yeah, we all know that voter fraud happened. That's why I just asked a series of questions and that I don't have the answers to. There was definitely voter fraud because no one can explain these different things to me. And we all know that means that there was voter fraud. Except we can't produce any evidence of there being voter fraud. We just have these weird circumstances with some questions that haven't been answered, which doesn't prove anything. It just, I guess, but we know that voter fraud is real, guys.
Hey, that it is inevitable that Joe Biden will be president. We have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Oh, he's done. I keep getting surprised whenever he ends a segment. Like half of this show is just dead air. Like it literally, like, is this like 5 minutes of dead air? Yeah. Interesting.
For watching online, you guys can email us at freedom@charliekirk.com. Any questions that you guys have in real time, freedom@charliekirk.com. The Democrats are angry. The Democrats are angry because President Donald Trump's victory in 2016 interrupted their plans to make America a
dead air is in it will kill you.
globalist, open border, pro-China state. President Donald Trump might have...
Yes, the globalist, open border, pro-China state. That's what Democrats want. He's really got his finger on the pulse of Democrats here.
Have permanently interrupted their plans. And this is exactly why
Poopy Dickens, you're
any conversation.
Poopy Dickens, you're absolutely right. No, it is ad space for syndication. You're absolutely right. I'm not sure why I didn't think about that. Thank you. Oh, you know, Mudvayne, that might be true. He might just be buying for time to fill out this hour, because this is considerably shorter than his other shows.
Around voter fraud, around ballot fraud, because they want him defeated so badly to usher in the Great Reset. Let's play cut 1 of Patricia Bomer, who signed an affidavit testifying to fraud committed in Detroit. Wait till you hear this clip. Play cut 1.
They would override so many ballots.
Good grief, that's really loud. I want to look up who this person is real quick.
China states. President Donald Trump might have permanently interrupted their plans. And this is exactly why they are so quick to dismiss any conversation around voter fraud, around ballot fraud, because they want him defeated so badly to usher in the Great Reset. Let's play cut 1 of Patricia Bomer, who's...
Is that Trisha? I'm going to look up Trisha Bomer. Trisha Bomer. The David. Trump? Wait, Trisha? But I don't know who he's talking about. That's part number 1 problem. Don't know what he's talking about. Are there links down here? Does he cite his sources? No, he does not. Great. All right. Cool. We'll just have to take this at face value, okay? Is there a mod on right now? I'm not sure, handsomest robot. In a pinch, though, you can whisper me. I just can't guarantee that I'll see it, you know? Is Candace Owens a grifter? Absolutely. Yeah, Candace Owens is 100% a grifter.
Sign an affidavit testifying to fraud committed in Detroit. Wait till you hear this clip. Play cut 1.
They would override so many ballots that I saw. They would put in the scanner, and then on there it would say, "Are you sure you want to override to them?" Like something. In other words, it's a Republican ballot, but they went in and overrid the system, and they would put They would take the mouse and click yes, and a green check mark would come in and says processed or something. But this was after they kept overwriting each and every last ballot that they put into their scanner that was on their table. They would overwrite them. Not one time did I see one go through and it was just went through. They were over.
Are you sure that are you sure that these voting machines, when they were doing overriding, were changing the votes of the ballot, though? Are you sure about that? Are you sure that they were changing the result of these votes? Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a boomer moment, you know? Like, I don't know.
Overwriting ballots.
It's incredibly important that every single person hears that. Of course, the activist media will not cover that there was the overwriting of Trump votes for Biden votes. And Sidney Powell stays committed in cut 3, Fox Business, when Lou Dobbs asks her, do you think we're going to see the Trump presidency saved? Play cut 3.
Do you think?
Oh, also, they have really bad sound design for these clips, but also, Sidney Powell is no longer a federal prosecutor here. Why are we listening to what she's saying? She was so insane in the press conference the other day that the Trump administration literally said, "Yeah, this is a bit too much. We're gonna let you go, Sidney. Okay, you have a good one. Okay." Why doesn't he cite her? Good question. He did say her name, but I don't think the captions were actually like getting that name right. So,
That we're going to see the Trump presidency saved?
Yes, I definitely do. There's no issue in my mind, but that he was elected in an absolute landslide nationwide.
You now hear Sidney Powell doubling down on her opinion that Donald Trump and his presidency will be saved.
Man, it seems like if she was a good lawyer, they would have kept her on that legal team. If she had a good instinct for how this was going.
There's a massive effort, and I can tell you because I see a lot of their emails and I can see their conversations within establishment Republican circles to close the chapter on the Trump presidency. They want the Trump moment to be over. Little do they know, this is actually a broad-based coalition with 73+ million people from all walks of life, from all across the country, that will not look kindly at this betrayal of President Trump and his presidency. While court cases are still being heard, while theories are still being proven, while evidence is still being gathered, the Republican establishment is very quick and very eager to go work with Joe Biden for a return to normal. Now, what is the normal that they want? The normal that the Republicans want is they want to be accepted again in DC ruling class society. They want to play war games with our troops. They want to keep our borders completely and totally wide open. They want to pander to the Chamber of Commerce interests. And quite honestly, a lot of them want to see the complete and total destruction of middle-class work in our country. You see...
Yeah, the Democrats want to destroy middle-class work. They don't like the middle class. Democrats. Anti-middle class. Definitely true. It's not true. It's a really, really stupid thing to say. Anyway, we're going to keep going.
Here's a really good question about restaurants and small business. I just flew across the country on United Airlines. The entire plane was full. Sitting next to people 2.5 feet away. And so here's a really interesting question that on its surface is kind of funny to talk about, but there's a deeper point to it. Why am I allowed to eat on an airplane, but I can't eat in a restaurant?
It's a good question. You probably shouldn't be on an airplane. We probably should have shut down air travel if we were at all interested in shutting down the spread of this deadly pandemic.
Why was I allowed to eat on an airplane when I was next to somebody 2.5 feet from me with no mask? And the reason is that the politicians care much more about the airplane industry than they do about the small business industry.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Because the airplane industry makes the proper contributions to political parties. The airline industry is represented by the right lobbyists. The airline industry
Hey, you know what? Charlie Kirk isn't full of shit. This is actually true. The airplane industry is also heavily invested in our military-industrial complex. So, yeah, he's right here. He's right. Guys, Charlie Kirk said something accurate. Whoa!
Would have a serious backlash towards Democrat and Republican politicians if they went under. So there's no epidemiological reason why I can eat on an airplane sitting right next to somebody for 4 hours across the country.
True.
But
well,
meanwhile, when
wait,
I'm in...
Wait. No, there is a good reason that you shouldn't do that. There are excellent epidemiological reasons that you shouldn't do that. I can't say that word. I apologize. Epidemiological? I don't think I'm saying it right. Anyway, no, there are excellent reasons why you shouldn't do that, but like, they're letting it happen anyway because it's profitable to have that stuff happen. Is that a word? I guess so, maybe? Let's just say it is so I don't look stupid, okay?
Chicago, where I am right now, and I tried to go to my favorite restaurants last evening, and they did their best to buy an expensive tent in a parking lot with heaters to try and satisfy J.B. Pritzker's requirements, which is what happened last evening, because you're only allowed to have outdoor dining. So what do? They go build these tents that are very expensive, and people are still sitting near each other just to be able to barely survive. Meanwhile, I had just deplaned an aircraft for 4 hours where I could sit next to somebody who had no...
It's amazing how Charlie Kirk cares so much about the ability of small businesses to survive, but he doesn't really give a shit about the ability of like poor people not being able to survive in this country. It's pretty I don't know, seems like a strange standard for him to have, but you know, we know that Charlie Kirk cares more about businesses than he cares about people. Phase 5 entertainment, true.
no mask for 45 minutes, who very well could have exposed 10 people in his general direction next to him. Is it because people don't get infected on airplanes? Of course that's not the case. It's because airlines are a protected class. Local restaurants are not. It's because airlines matter to politicians. They need their contributions. They need their political support. Airlines are represented by the Chamber of Commerce.
True.
Why is it that, as I give this commentary right now, there is undoubtedly a packed aircraft flying from New York City, John F. Kennedy Airport, to Los Angeles International Airport? Right now, there's a plane in the air. And there are people sitting next to each other that are supposed to wear masks at all times, despite the different opinions around masks. There's studies that show they work, there's studies that show they don't. But they're huddled next to each other. And yet both where they're coming from and where they're going, it is illegal to go to church on Sunday. It's good.
Man, Charlie Kirk was almost making the case for lockdowns. He was almost making the case for lockdowns. He was very close. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to gather in large groups of people. So don't gather in church. Don't gather on planes. Don't gather in small businesses. Yeah. If we were smart and were taking this pandemic seriously, yeah, we would stop people from doing these things. But he's right that the reason planes are largely left out of this equation is because they have a much better lobbying power than small businesses. If he did not care more about businesses than people, how would he be able to gather donations for the party? No way politicians could survive on their meager wages alone. True. You got to think of the poor politicians. They're struggling to survive.
Because the churches are irrelevant in the eyes of Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Andrew Cuomo and Governor Gavin Newsom and Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Dianne Feinstein and Senator Chuck Schumer. Those 6 Democrats that represent New York and California on the senator's side.
Guys, do you remember at the very beginning of this pandemic what place was the largest super spreader in China? Do you guys remember that? It was a long time ago. Might have even been in 2019, before the dark times, in the before 4 times. It wasn't Chinese New Year. There was specifically a religious sect that meets in China. I forget which one it is. But they had like congregations. that congregation single-handedly managed to spread it across a huge swath of area. So like, oh, that might have been in Korea, the Wu-Tang province. Lol. I'm not sure. It was either China or Korea, one of those two places. South Korea. Isn't it a cult? I'm not sure. Merc and Dream, send if you want to send a link, just whisper it to me in chat, or in DMs, and I'll try and post it for you. China is largely atheist, but they also have different religious movements. I might be misremembering. They do have like Buddhism in China. That's a big thing. Well, I don't remember. Anyway, it was a religious organization that helped spread COVID-19 initially. Oh, yes. Thank you, Disco Rat. The Korean Shincheonji Church of Jesus. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And also thank you, Taco Cat. You got it first. You deserve the praise. 2019 Military World Games? What is this? Why did you send this to me? Oh, suspiciously close to the origin of the virus. Gotcha. Just a second. I need to refresh because I opened that message in the wrong tab. There we go. Okay, and we are back. All right. Let's keep going.
On the gubernatorial side. They don't lose sleep when all of a sudden the churches start showing up and writing letters and asking them to reopen. They chuckle because they say, churches don't contribute to our campaigns. Churches don't represent constituents we care about. However,
what the fuck is he saying? Left-wing people go to church too. Also, if you're worshiping a god who's supposedly all-powerful, I think God can cut you some slack for not making it to church, okay? I think he can work in mysterious ways through the internet, through small Bible study groups, stuff like that. What do you think about the Northern European countries and their view on socialism? My view on Northern European countries and their take on socialism is that it's far too capitalist. I'm much more interested in actually transitioning to socialism rather than adopting a handful of socialist policies, which is largely what they did there. Oh, you want to be like Cuba? No, I want to be better than Cuba. I want more freedom than Cuba. I want freedom to actually be freedom. I want life to be valued and not have a cost attached to it. And I want work to be voluntary rather than coerced. I don't think that you could say that about Cuba. I'm not sure the amount of control the workers of Cuba have over their means of production. So, yeah. Socialism that isn't opposed by the U.S. Yeah, Merc and Dream. I'm a market socialist. That's the entire point of me making this channel was for me to advocate for market socialism and why I think it's a based and good idea that will improve the world. I really wonder why is the concept of democracy and socialism so hard to grasp for everyone? Well, part of it is like the history of like Stalinism and Maoism have kind of muddied the waters when it comes to people's understanding of socialism. But the other part is like largely there's a misunderstanding of like, guys, here's the thing. If you like democracy, I like democracy. I'm a fucking patriot. I love American democracy. I love apple pie. You know, it's great. I don't actually love apple pie. I like pumpkin pie far more. But the issue is, I think that we should also have democracy in our workplace. Why should we subject ourselves to an economic system that isn't democratic? I don't know. This seems bad to me. I think the solution is more democracy, not less democracy. Council communism is way better. Well, that's the thing, Poopy Dickens. I'm just advocating for market socialism as a first step. You know, I'm open to wherever it goes from there. I want us to take tangible steps that can meaningfully get us out of capitalism. And I think you can do that with market socialism in the United States. I think that is a valid path forward for us. I think it's something we could achieve in our lifetimes, and God damn it, I want to do that. I like pie. Let's see. Nothing is more democratic than socialism. Worker cooperatives are better than authoritarian workplaces. I agree. Though I might make the argument that communism might be more democratic than socialism, but, you know, we can cross that bridge when we get to it, you know? Let's see. Jesus himself said, worship not at temple, where you do it for yourself. Worship the Father from home, where you do it for him, along with other things. Church going is never really taught by the Bible, rather the people. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Hello, Falafel. Welcome to my chat and my community. I hope you enjoy it for however long you spend here, okay? We're going to finish watching this Charlie Kirk video and laughing at his expense.
If all of a sudden United Airlines or American Airlines or Delta picked up the phone and called Chuck Schumer, then they would all of a sudden start to make a political calculus that they would lose support, that they would lose contributions. The point is that the ruling class does not actually view this as a pandemic. They don't.
Damn. We should... Charlie Kirk, you're right. We should get money out of politics. Charlie Kirk. Join the resistance, Charlie Kirk. Join us. Let's get money out of politics and see what happens, huh? Let's get money out of politics, Charlie Kirk. We're on the same side, you and I. It is pretty bullshit how airlines have a disproportionate amount of power compared to the common man, isn't it? Pretty weird. We should probably stop that, huh?
Don't. If they did, they would have consistency in the implementation of their public policy directives. Instead, they use this as an opportunity, and they have certain carve-outs and protections for political donors and for friends that benefits the oligarch class. The Democrats are so unbelievably cocky, and they don't even care they're hypocrites because they know they will not be voted out of office. They know that Gavin Newsom, Andrew Cuomo, they're going to be...
Well, and again, I can't emphasize this enough, but if we let the virus spread unchecked, we're looking at 2 to 6 million people dying from this pandemic. So painting controls on the population that are designed to prevent the virus from spreading when we have no effective treatment, you know, it might be a good idea rather than a bad one.
Just fine. No matter how much we rise up, they control the political machinery to such a large extent that they will stay in power almost assuredly. And yet no one can answer this question in the activist media. Why I was on an airplane for 4 hours and able to do exactly what I can't do once I land in a local restaurant, even though the local restaurant would probably do a better job of stopping any sort of epidemiological spread.
Well, actually, you did a pretty good job explaining it yourself, Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of money in politics. We need to get it out. You should come work with us, Charlie Kirk. You're pretty on point about this. Maybe we can make you the point man on the getting money out of politics. You seem really passionate about it. You know, I think you'd be the perfect man for the job to lead this this coalition against money in politics. Yeah, based on what he said, flights probably aren't safe, huh? Yeah, the flights aren't safe.
And it's also because of Boeing. Boeing is one of the largest lobbyists in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Boeing represents a massive capital source for the ruling class. Where do politicians go once they leave cabinet positions? They go sit on the board of Boeing, like Nikki Haley did. And I like Nikki, she's a friend. But that's what happens.
Nikki Haley went out and went on the board of Boeing. I like Nikki, she's a friend. Are you really against money in politics, Charlie Kirk, if you're friends with lobbyists? Are you really a big friend of these people? Friends with lobbyists? Are you really against money in politics? I took you in such good faith, Charlie Kirk.
Who makes all the planes for these airlines? Boeing. Who gets the government contracts? Boeing. Who screwed up their aircraft so terribly that hundreds of people died because they couldn't figure out the machinery despite getting all this political funding and they tried to cover it up? Boeing. 737 MAX.
True. Yep. We actually talked about this on the channel last week. We had Revolt Rise, Resident Mod, come in to talk about the 737 MAX, largely because he worked on auditing the plane and he talked extensively about what went wrong with the internal mechanics. It was super interesting, super duper interesting.
Yet Boeing gets carve-outs, Boeing gets protected.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to tell me in a multi-trillion-dollar economy that only one company can make transcontinental aircraft? There's only two companies on the planet that do it. It's Boeing and Airbus, both of which are, Airbus is a French company, both of which are heavily subsidized by their governments. There's other aircraft manufacturers as well, Embraer, which is a Brazilian company. The point is this, is that we are now seeing the carve-outs that benefit politicians, not actually help contribute to the stop of the spread. And guess what? Lockdowns make rich people richer. Amazon loves lockdowns. Amazon gets to deliver more packages of plastic from China, of stuff you guys don't need. Amazon gets more people watching their Amazon Go services. Netflix.
You know what? You're right, Charlie Kirk. This really has exacerbated the problems of capitalism. It really does exacerbate the problems of capitalism when people are suddenly forced into these conditions. Thank you for helping to point them out, Charlie Kirk. Maybe we should address those underlying issues.
Netflix loves lockdowns. Netflix is cheering for more lockdowns. Starbucks loves lockdowns. Starbucks has the order go, they have the curbside pickup, but the local coffee shop that just invested all of their money in Scottsdale, Arizona to try and compete against Starbucks, they don't have the capital reserves, they don't have the shareholder backing to all of a sudden have mobile order capacity.
Okay, well, first off, if you invested all of your money to compete directly against Starbucks, you're really, really stupid. You're not going to win that fight. You're not going to win that fight, guys. Starbucks has way more money. They're able to undercut you way the fuck more than you're able to undercut them. This is what Walmart does. This is why Walmart is so successful. They've made a habit of going into small towns and undercutting the competition and driving them out of business. So this is a bad investment anyway. That's the only point I'm making here.
When you lock down the country, you only create permanency for a corporate oligarchy. There is no epidemiological reasoning behind any of this. There isn't. Instead, this is the hyper-corporatization of America. And interestingly, the Democrats that used to hate corporate...
Wait, Charlie Kirk, I thought you were a capitalist. I thought you were in favor of all of this. Charlie Kirk, right? Welcome to the resistance.
Dominants are perfectly okay with it. Why? Because they think this is actually a gateway drug to socialism, to nationalize everything. Little do Bernie Sanders and AOC know this is the opposite. This is the permanent corporate class that will control everything. And if AOC was actually serious about representing small people, she would want the country open instantaneously. This virus, as I just mentioned, has changed the way a lot of businesses operate. I rail against the corporate class in our country, but one...
You know who's getting killed in our country by this pandemic? It's poor people. So if you actually give a shit about poor people, probably would be pro-lockdown, along with some sort of economic stimulus that allows them to lock down.
company that's doing an amazing job to challenge a lot of the digital communication.
Poopy Dickens, I like your
unchecked
style.
is SquadPod. I'm so thankful that I found SquadPod. SquadPod
I don't
is
know
a
Phase
100%
5
American-owned and
Entertainment.
operated private team communication platform available today. The only one.
Oh,
SquadPod
he's
protects
doing an
your
ad.
privacy.
He's doing an ad. We have one more segment, guys. We're almost done.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here, host of the Charlie Kirk Show. Thank you for tuning in today, the day before Thanksgiving. I want to get to some more sound here. I want to go to Bill de Blasio. Cut 9. If you love people, help them stay alive.
You think we'll
Why
get
not
stimulus
travel?
under
Right?
Biden?
Cut 9.
I hope so.
Well, if I'm saying to people, and I'm going to talk about my family, but the first thing I'm saying to everyone is do not travel. Stay local. Keep it small. If you love people, if you love your extended family, help them stay alive so we can all celebrate together in person next year. Because I really believe by next Thanksgiving we'll be in the kind of situation we can all come back together. So in my case, I would normally travel for Thanksgiving. I'm not going to. I'm going to be missing some of the people that are closest to me in the world that I would always see on Thanksgiving. I hate it, but I want to keep them safe.
So I said before that many of these governors and mayors are participating in almost an Olympic competition of who can oppress their citizens more. I have called this before the Oppression Olympics, but it was...
No, the Oppression Olympics was something else that you... God damn it. He can't even keep his own terms straight. The Oppression Olympics is not what he's saying they were. But also, like... Fuck. It gets exhausting dealing with how stupid these people are. Or with how disingenuous. You know, with Charlie Kirk, I'm not really sure if he's stupid or disingenuous. I should have a speedrun split timer. That'd be great. Good idea, Poopy Dickens. But, like, he's taking this idea of, like, hey, don't go visit your family this year so you can experience an entire lifetime of Thanksgivings with them in all the years to come, you know? He's taking that core idea and saying, yeah, they're playing a sick game of Oppression Olympics to see who can oppress their people the most. It's like, well, no, they actually have a pretty good point there. Do you want to kill Meemaw and Pip Pop? You know, like, do you want to kill both of them so this is the last Thanksgiving that you're ever going to see them? Yeah, your Peepaw? Most people who love their family would probably say no. I would love several more with my grandparents. You know, I'd rather not kill my nephew. I'd rather not through my actions bring death upon my family. You know, most people would be in that category, you know? But I guess Charlie Kirk is that's part of the Oppression Olympics, wanting to keep your family alive.
It was in a completely different example. It was more about what happens on college campuses when young people have a competition of who can say they are the most oppressed
there he goes.
victim group
He clarified
in the
it.
eyes of the academic elite.
So it's a completely
But
different
it's
thing.
almost as if these
Gotcha.
Democrat governors and mayors are having a competition of who can lock down and shut down their citizenry the quickest. And Mayor Bill de Blasio is a very unpopular mayor. He's a fool. And Mayor Bill de Blasio believes...
I would love to know what Charlie Kirk thinks should be done when the hospitals start overflowing, right? Like, right now, guys, hospitals across the United States, a lot of them are completely full. Like, as in they don't have the beds to take any more people. So, like, they're having to build temporary field hospitals that are also getting filled up. What do you think's going to happen after Thanksgiving and the COVID cases spike exponentially from all these people going out and visiting their families? What happens when there's no room at the hospital for you to get your heart checked out because something's wrong? What happens when you can't get into the hospital, even though you have a cancer? Like you've been diagnosed with cancer. What happens when you can't get into the hospital, even though you have the most severe symptoms of COVID-19? What's his answer to that? Like, what's his real answer to that? Because the entire point of locking down at this point isn't to eliminate the disease. We're well past that time period. The point of locking down now is to make sure the hospitals don't get overrun. And right now they're getting overrun. They're getting overrun right now. And Thanksgiving is going to make it exponentially worse. So I wonder what big brain Charlie Kirk was it thinks should be done in that case. You know, I wonder if he thinks, no, the poor should be treated first. Maybe the rich should be treated first. You know, suddenly he's pro Boeing, pro his rich friends. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay.
That BLM Incorporated outside of Trump Tower demonstrating was a necessary activity, whereas the gathering of family on Thanksgiving is not. And when we look at these governors and these totalitarians that are looking to shut down many of these states, we should ask ourselves the question, what was their opinion of America? What was their opinion of individual liberty before they wanted to shut down the country? Now, amazingly, the political party that wants to make brothels legal, legalize prostitution, have heroin and cocaine decriminalized, and are all about individuals being able to make any decision they want whenever, regardless of the cost, because they believe in their own version of self-indulgent liberty, now all of a sudden they're the ones that are terrified of a citizenry having to have some form of risk in their life. It's so incredibly dystopian. It really is.
And again, this isn't the same as like going out and assuming the risk of like maybe getting hit by a car if you're driving, because we don't have exponentially increasing cases of people getting hit by cars when they go out. What we do have is exponentially increasing viral pandemic.
And so the question that I still have is, why are we tolerating this? If you're a small business owner and you're still closed in California, yet the movie industry was just granted access to stay open, strip clubs were just granted access to stay open, but churches must remain closed, laundromats must remain closed, and restaurants must remain closed. Why is the movie industry allowed to be open? Because they contribute to the right candidates. And what's stunning is that the Democrats used to care about political favoritism. They used to care about the consequences of Citizens United. They used to care about a government that was not created for the people. At least this is what they said. This was the energy behind the Elizabeth Warren movement, behind the Bernie Sanders movement. And let me tell you, with the possibility of a Biden presidency, there is an opportunity for Republicans to represent 75 to 80% of the country. If Republicans got serious about campaign finance and the consequences of campaign finance when it came to lockdowns, if Republicans got serious about representing the muscular class and normal people, if Republicans got serious about opposing woke ideology and still being firm in our social conservative commitments of pro-life and pro-faith.
Yeah, you should be able to wear a cross around your neck and punch an abortionist while strangling a gay. That's what America's all about. I'm being hyperbolic. That's kind of what he advocates, though. That's kind of only a tiny hyperbole based off of like Charlie Kirk's worldview.
We would represent 80% of the country. We're Democrats. Their political constituency are people that are permanently addicted to government and want to stay that way, and the 1% that want special carve-outs and favors and rules for themselves.
Yeah, the Republicans never would support a 1% movement. They'd never support the wealthy elites. And conservatives aren't about supporting wealthy elites at all. Definitely not. That's why one of Charlie Kirk's friends went to go work at Boeing. Because Boeing is so incredibly left-leaning.
We have now seen 9 months of wise, double-standard, central command policies. They are trying to suffocate the American worker and the middle class. In the next hour, we're going to...
Yeah, they're trying to suffocate the working class for no reason, but they're doing it because they're evil.
Explore this further and also talk about Barack Obama's big lie, but we have to take a break. If I miss you, see you next week or Friday. Talk to you soon.
This was really boring. I regret watching this Charlie Kirk video. It's an anti-woke parent group, okay? Oh no. Oh gosh. Yeah, let's take a look real quick at these chats. Bobby, my phone volume is all the it's okay. Trump 12 more years. Have you seen the Ariana Grande music video for Positions? Although I'm a conservative, I felt like the concept of a woman president is amazing so long as that woman isn't Kamalto? What? What? Keep buying up ammo before the commie states restrict. I enjoy my life without having to pay so much for their items that I can get better for less money, and the small company are happy and give better service. We need more. I know of a few pastors in San Diego, including mine, are not closing their churches. 1.8 billion rounds of ammo. All right. Okay. Not enough guns. They have fake. Okay. Somebody gave him $100. What the fuck? Thanks for keeping us up to date with everything going on. Appreciate the effort you're putting in to get us the latest. Yeah, there's a lot of effort going on here. Guys, I've put more effort into my shows. I've been streaming for 6 hours. I think that's probably about twice as much as Charlie Kirk does. Anyway. Damn, feels bad. I agree, Spiritus.